Welcome, everybody, to today's conversation about the future of learning in manufacturing. My name is Justin Seeley. I am an evangelist here at Adobe, working on Adobe Learning Manager, and I'll be your host for this discussion today. Again, I want to remind everybody that while this is a discussion between Tom and myself, we do encourage everybody to participate in the session as well. So please drop questions, comments in the chat pod, or feel free to come off mute when you have a question and turn your camera on, interact with us directly. We would love to have that as well. There'll be specific areas where I pause to take questions. So if you have them, we invite you to come off mute and do that at that time. Joining me today is Ton van Raphorst, an experienced learning and development leader with deep experience in organizational transformation, leadership development, and driving strategic learning initiatives across multiple industries. Tom, thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate it. Really excited to get going.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a joy and a pleasure. And I just want to second what Justin said. If anyone wants to come off mic or show us your faces, we welcome it. We want this to be an interactive experience, not just between the two of us, but really for everyone here. Also, if you want to sit under the conversation and be a part of it that way as well, we welcome that too. So please don't feel any angst if you don't come off mute. So we're just happy that you're here.
Absolutely. So before we get into the actual back and forth of the conversation, I want to set the stage with some context around the idea for this session. So the manufacturing industry is obviously undergoing one of its most profound transformations in history. Despite economic uncertainty, though, investment still remains strong, particularly in clean tech, smart factories, and workforce modernization. Yet one constant thread runs through this change: the urgent need for skilled, adaptable talent. So in a recent Deloitte study, they reported that as many as 1.9 million manufacturing jobs could go unfulfilled by 2033 due to persistent workforce shortages. At the same time, 78% of manufacturers say that AI is already a part of their digital strategy, and over half actively use generative AI in operations. So with all of that, what does that mean for learning leaders? It means we need to move faster, we got to design smarter, and we have to prepare for what's going on and what's coming next. So our goal today is to kind of unpack this with Tom and to help leave you with insights that you can return back and share with your teams. So I want to start off by talking about the bigger picture. There's a lot happening in industrial manufacturing today, from AI integration to sustainability mandates to major shifts in supply chain resiliency. Each of those macro trends is creating a ripple effect inside organizations. And we're hearing from many of our manufacturing customers at Adobe that while their factories are getting smarter, the workforce challenges are only getting more complex. The pressure to produce more with fewer people collides with a tight labor market and rapidly evolving customer expectations. A lot of organizations deal with knowledge loss from retiring employees, onboarding challenges with younger digital-first workers, and the constant need to reskill around these new technologies. So this happens all while maintaining compliance, meeting production targets, and controlling their costs. And so, Tom, I want to get your take on this. What are the most disruptive forces that are shaping the industrial manufacturing sector right now?
Yeah, that's a great question, Justin. I think that it's fear. Right? I think it's a fear-based mentality. And the reason I say that is because we have all these agentic AIs, if you will. We have all of these different modalities that are being pitched to different corporations. And what's happening is we have generational leadership through the ranks at mostly every company, even startup companies. We have different generational leadership. And when I say that, I'm really thinking and speaking to the way that they think and the way that they lead. So we hear this term artificial intelligence. And if I were to say that to somebody that just graduated high school versus somebody that just graduated college versus somebody that's at an entry-level job all the way up to a C-suite, it's going to resonate differently to all of those individuals, to every single one of those individuals, and everyone's going to have a different skill as well. Um, it's really interesting. I walked down my driveway today and I picked up the Washington Times. This is crazy to think about this. This is today, and it says graduates rethink college in age of AI.
Hmm.
That was it. And I picked this up 30 minutes ago. Skilled trades surge as desk job diplomas requirements wither. That's scary.
Oh.
That is really scary because, Justin, when we think about it, I don't think AI is the end all be all.
Hmm.
I think AI is a resource that we're all going to pivot to in every aspect of business. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think there will be some outliers. I think there'll be some organizations that take the quote unquote big swing and try
Yeah,
to replace, whole swaths of, I mean, we're already seeing it, in tech
we are.
specifically, there's downsizing happening around AI all the time. But I think the idea that we're going to wholesale replace the American workforce or any workforce with
No,
these machines, it's not true. I do think that we're going to have to learn how to work with these tools
right.
in a more harmonious way, I guess is the best way to say it. Like we need to be collaborators with these tools and see them as more of an augmentation to existing workflows than anything else. But that's super interesting that you say that, about the college stuff, because, there for a while, that was the draw of big tech jobs, is that you could get one whether you graduated college or not, right? But now it's like I think for whatever reason there's like a mindset shift that like, oh, if you have one of these jobs that is tied to one of these degrees, like you need to shift away from it now because they're afraid that those jobs are being taken away by and I think that's the problem with calling it artificial intelligence. Like people assume that it's like these smart jobs that are being taken away by these AI systems. And while I think it's great that people are reinvesting themselves into skilled trades and things like that, I think that it spells, I don't know. I think the leadership will see trends like this and think
Mm-mm.
that it's okay to make these bigger swings. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like it's gonna
Yeah.
it's gonna create a mindset shift at the top that maybe that we're not really ready for.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. Um, I think fear is going to drive uh, some leaders to say AI is going to be, this is just the blanket statement, right? And we're already seeing it. AI is so efficient. It's the future. We don't need laborers. We
Hmm.
don't need this skill set because AI is going to take care of it. So, and we see this you know, throughout history, um, throughout industry, throughout manufacturing, and they say, "Oh, well, we have this new factory, or we have this new printing press, or we have
Hmm.
this new, steam engine, whatever it is. So we're not going to
Yeah.
need X, Y, and Z." Um, but we do need people to drive these systems.
Yeah.
So
100%.
it would, yeah, and we need
I
that
think
critical thinking as well. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree. But I think that that translates to a huge need for upskilling that maybe we're not ready for. Or you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like we need to start preparing for that. Because how organizations respond to this is going to, specifically through with regards to workforce development. If we look at the numbers, it's clear that, upskilling isn't just a nice to have anymore. It's critical. Like we have to get to the point where the baseline of AI literacy, the baseline of how to use these tools effectively needs to be raised significantly, and it needs to, the curve, the hockey stick needs to be pretty sharp in terms of how we get people there. Um, and that's not just to do with AI necessarily. That's to do with all these systems. Like I'm sure you're seeing it in your industry. Like all these systems are getting new backbones. Like in manufacturing is probably some things around cybersecurity,
Yeah.
cloud-based stuff that's going on with all of this. Like what kind of mindset shift are you seeing around all of this, given the tools that are coming down the pipe for you guys and all this stuff? Like, um, or is it more about like creating learning paths for these people to close those skill gaps? Is it training them up on these new machines at a more rapid pace? Like what is going on from your perspective, like where you are, that goes through all that?
We hear this term, it's not in my job description.
Mm.
Okay. When I
Yep.
hear something like that, as a learning and development professional, someone who's done this for a while, I shave my grays off the sides, by the way. So when I say for a while, thank you very much. Your new haircut looks great too, by the way. Anywho,
Thank you. It's
yes, you're
just for
welcome.
men. Just for men.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think that back to your question, when we talk about upskilling, I look at that as continuous learning. So we can
Mhm.
use the term upskilling, we can use the term skilling, we can use the term professional development, we can say upskilling, but I think as leaders in an organization, we have to be very careful when we say, hey, upskill this and upskill that. Let's simplify it, really break it down to our basic needs. What do we want to what are we trying to skill our employees on,
Mhm.
which will drive bottom line, which will drive our performance, and which will make them a better, well-rounded person. I think that AI is just what's in front of us right now. That's just what's in front of us right now. What was it prior to AI? We're all looking into it, right? We're all looking into our device,
Yeah.
right? It was computers.
Yep.
Prior to that, we had typewriters. Phones are uh, another good example. But um, I think that something that I'm doing is I'm developing learning paths for my colleagues, for my employees. What do these learning paths look like? Those learning paths are a hybrid approach, one, to our systems trainings. Okay, this is what AI does for you. This is what AI is. But how do you process that? How do you use that? How do you take that and apply it to a human being? We
Mhm.
don't want to be too draconian when we're looking at uh, learning AI and implementing AI, because we're still dealing with human beings.
Yeah.
We still need to think, we still need to think about how we're going to use AI to go about our day and go about our work to drive the results and to tie it to our mission as well. Um, and we're going to see that. We're going to see that through different companies. We're going to see it through, agentic AI executive playbooks. We're going to see AI academies, AI agent courses, um, you know, agentic AI primer for leaders, just to name a few. But I think we need to be hesitant to run away from learning AI, and I would actually say we need to be aggressive, cautiously aggressive in running towards AI, because it's here, it's the future, and I think that we need not. I think we become afraid of it when we don't understand it, and the best way
Sure.
to understand it is to learn it. Best way to learn
Yeah.
it is to what you said, upskill your employees. How do we do that though, Justin? How do we upskill them in a way that they're going to feel comfortable learning it? Because this is a different language,
Yeah.
right?
Ultimately, I think it comes down to I think our learning systems have to get better.
Yes.
Our modalities have to adapt. We have to put in place engines of personalization
Oh, I
to
like that.
make
Yeah,
this, you know what I mean? To make this stuff feel
100%.
more personal to the learner, to make it feel like this is something that I'm interested in. This is something that um, this is something that is applicable to me. This is how it will change my role. Like if it doesn't feel relevant to their specific area, you just give
Hmm.
them generic training. It's not going to work because they're just going to see the same kind of scary thing they see on LinkedIn every day or whatever the case may be. Like they're just going to
Right,
see like, oh, it has the ability to do these 50 things and that's just going to put me out of a job. Not necessarily. There are ways that it could enhance your current job, or maybe there
right,
is a way for us to pivot you into a different job, or in your case maybe there's a different piece of equipment that has a
hmm,
new AI component, and we can show you how to use that. And this is how it, I don't know, let's say something that was extremely manual and labor intensive before becomes less so now. Well, this is how we take that load off of your shoulders, put it into a machine, and then you can do twice as much, but you're still supervising it, still controlling it, still telling it what to do. All of those kind of things. I think it's just
right.
this mindset shift. It reminds me of when I used to teach in Louisiana. Um, Part of the computer training center that I worked at, part of our mandate was to train government employees who were in manufacturing, who were in heavy machine work, who were in the oil fields and things like that. And they would send them to us, and they would say that we need you to learn computer-based software so that this was in 2008, and they were like, we want to transition away from just all the training being centric to manufacturing and these manual labor processes these guys do, because we want to upskill them in a way that prepares them for life outside of the oil field, or life
Yes.
outside of, if these things go away. Because in 2008 we didn't really know, the world was in disarray in
Yeah.
2008. So they brought these people in. The government paid for it. We trained them on things like Excel and the database. I forget what Microsoft's database platform was called. But anyway, we trained them on Access, Microsoft Access. We
Hmm.
trained them on. I did Photoshop classes, Illustrator classes, things like that. And it wasn't necessarily that these were things that were going to help them in their job at the time, but it was trying to prepare them for what may come later on. I think that's the other part of this too. We have to deal with the now, but we also have to deal with the future and making sure that we are putting people in a better place to weather the current storm, but then also succeed post storm, because the storm will
Yeah.
settle eventually, right? And we will be in a new normal. It's the same thing like pre and post smartphone, pre and post computer, things like that. All these shifts that have happened throughout our lifetime, this is
Yeah.
just another one of those. It's just another, digital pen replaces paintbrush kind of scenario. Um,
Absolutely.
and at the end of the day, are you teaching people to use that digital pen, or are you allowing them to keep the paintbrush? Like I would argue that the better thing to do is to train them to use that digital pen, even if it means that they graduate and move away from you.
Yeah. So you're not a big fan of the quill?
No, not necessarily. I think that
What if what if it's digital? What if we created a digital quill and then marketed it?
I think it would work. I mean,
Do you
there's a,
think?
there's a huge market for like putting overlays on your iPad that feel like paper. So there's still
Yeah.
people like me who enjoy that tactile
Yeah.
response.
Maybe we could get like a puffy shirt to go with the quill, or like a gavel or something. But anyway, that's a good idea. Hopefully none of the listeners here will steal our $1 idea. Um, anyway, yeah, so to your point, just listening to what you were saying, it reminded me of I don't know what year they came out with the conveyor belt,
Hmm,
but the conveyor belt um, drastically increased production. But guess what? Now you have somebody that needs to understand how a conveyor belt works,
yeah,
somebody to adjust the speed, somebody to work the gears, right? And then you needed somebody to manage the individuals on the conveyor belt, right? It's just
right.
like it's just another piece of technology, if you will. But listening to what you just said, here's a moment of vulnerability for myself. Um, I have a few graduate degrees. I'm not the smartest person in the room by any means. Um, but you know what I do? What I've been doing each night? I've been coming home from work and I have been teaching myself tools, different AI tools to for a few reasons. One, so I can learn and understand, okay, to become more efficient for myself. But guess what? I have individuals that report into me or that I work with who are doing the same thing.
Mm.
So there's something to be said about learning a system and using it to your advantage. I want to understand what everyone is doing and how they're doing it. One, so I can collaborate with them, but two, so I can also inspect what I expect. So if I'm going to say to
Hmm.
somebody, I want you to use this tool, I want to know what its capabilities are. I want to be able to inspect the work of others as well, and I also want to use it to collaborate. Also,
Mm.
so my wife loves the fact that I have my computer up on the back porch and she says, "What are you doing? Are you working?" I said, "No, I'm playing right now." It's winning a lot of points in my home life. I'll give you that one. Said nobody ever. Um, but I'm trying my best.
Yeah, I think that it's time that everybody's doing their own thing in their own little silo to some degree, and I think it's time we just started saying the quiet part out loud. With all of this stuff, is here; it's not going anywhere. So
No.
I think it's better for us as organizations to for organizations to set policy and procedure around what tools are accepted, what tools are not. Have
Hmm.
your employees go all in on experimentation with that. That's one of the things that it's really cool working at a place like Adobe is we have a lot of AI tools that not just uh, chat based stuff, right? Like we have the imaging stuff and the video stuff and the audio stuff and all that stuff, and it's given me a lot of opportunity to play and to
Yeah.
really understand how to communicate with these things. And so, I think knowing number one, by being more transparent about this, and like you said, understanding where people are helps us
Hmm.
identify where the skills gaps are within our organization because there are some people who are more heavily invested in it than others. And so you will start to see where that baseline of AI literacy is. But, specifically in manufacturing, I think, this isn't just about adding more courses to people's plates. It's about tying the learning directly to your organization's strategic priorities, like, I don't know, electrification, AI integration with these, frontline systems and things like that, ESG goals. These learning plans, they have to be a lot more agile, a lot more modular, so you can swap things in and out when things change, as they inevitably will, faster than we've ever seen before. And
Yes.
so I think that, from plant supervisors to IT engineers, even shop floor workers to a degree, like provide a clear line of sight between what the training is that they're taking and how that relates to tangible business outcomes.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things we've seen here at Adobe is that like layering micro credentials and role-based certifications that allow workers to kind of grow in place while they still remain productive. So like giving them something to do on their 15-minute break that gets them a micro credential. Giving them a path forward to because maybe they see the writing on the wall. Maybe they get nervous and they
Yeah.
see like, oh, they're automating this process pretty soon. I'm not going to be the one running this machine. I should probably do
Hmm.
something else. Well, no. What if we understood where they sat in the overall scheme of things in terms of AI literacy, and we tried to level them up, giving them credentials that they could then, even if they do leave, they take with them, so that when they go somewhere else, they can show like I am, certified to do these things. I'm certified to communicate with these tools, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So like from your perspective, like what does this forward-looking learning strategy look like? Like, how should we design these things? How should L&D leaders build a program, a system, whatever it is, that's both practical for the learner, but also transformative for the business?
Yeah, so it starts with something that Veronica threw in the chat. She says that her company has an AI green list,
Oh,
so people know what they can use. And I think
yeah.
Veronica, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. It starts with what your company governance allows. So what are we allowing you to use? And then the employee needs to say, hey, I'm going to trust that uh, the people making these decisions know what they're talking about. If you have a green list at your quote unquote green list at your company, or whatever list you call it, that's good. That's great. It's because probably your the company who, HR, legal, whomever, they are they're protecting you as an individual. So just keep that in mind. It is for your protection, for the company's protection, for the proprietary information. Okay. So now we know what we can and cannot do under our company lens. So now, what do we do with that? So we take our approved tools for our company, if we have them, when we get them, and now we say, okay, so what do we do with that? Well, we need to look at what I would do. What I'm doing is I'm looking at a few different things. I'm looking at content that's already been created by others, so I'm borrowing it, and then I'm building it as well. But I'm not building it from scratch. I'm using pre-existing content that I already have. Maybe I'm using AI tools to help me redefine it, and take my content and break it up into bite-sized pieces, right? So let's say I have a program that's 2 days long. Well, now, which is an instructor-led program on pick your topic. Now what I can do is I can say, okay, now I have all of this data in my curriculum. What I'm going to do using AI is I'm going to break it down into uh, 60, 90, 120-second skill-based modules, um, whether it be infographics, videos, what have you. And I'm going to build a library that the learner can choose from, but also a library that a manager can assign those pieces of information to the learner as well. What does that do? It puts the learning path in the learner's hands, so they control their learning. But also, if it's company wide, if it's like compliance based, or if it's something that I think you may need to develop, or you say that you need to develop, I can then assign that out to you. So I love instructional led training. I think there's a need for in-person training. I also think, though, based off what you just said, there's also a need to pick up your phone, however many of them that you may have, and on your 15-minute break, upskill, right? Upskill on emotional intelligence, on the communication model, on regenerative AI. So I think that there's a huge, huge market, a huge need as to how we restructure what we're doing to get our content out to our employees, out to our learners. And if we have to create new information too, that's the third spoke. We do that. We just do it in different ways now, and we do it with AI. The cool thing about AI is that everything that I just mentioned, whether it be creating a presentation, creating a video, creating an infographic, uh, creating a quick knowledge check. You can do that all through AI, but it takes the individual creating all of this to think about using like our critical thinking skills. Okay, how do I want to do this? What's going to be best for that individual? How do I take this data, get it to that individual to teach them these valuable skills that they either had, so reinforced learning, or that they need uh, to learn to get to where they want to go, upskilling. Um, so it's really interesting, and I think we're learning new ways to create our quote unquote nudges each and every day. And yes, my balloons just went up when I did that because I believe in celebration and I believe in AI. And I also spilled a seltzer water, a LaCroix on my keyboard about
Oh,
6 months ago, and now the function just goes off whenever it wants to. Sometimes
that's
we get
awesome.
fireworks, sometimes we get a giant heart, sometimes we get balloons, but either way it keeps the conversation going.
That's awesome. Um, no, I completely agree with you. I think that we have to. I think I go back to that personalized sentiment that I
Yeah,
talked about earlier. This sense of making the learning feel like it's something that they're into. Um, I think that we have to make this stuff engaging in a way that we've never had to make training engaging before, because you're essentially training some. It's not like when you're taking, I don't know, onboarding training for like harassment or something like that, right? Like that's
yeah,
a thing that everybody takes when they first sign up to when they first take a job, whatever. You go through these compliance courses, and those are all
correct.
like just normal things. This is an actual subject that people are afraid of before they dive into it. They don't understand it. It's seemingly something that could mess with their livelihood,
Hmm.
and they don't necessarily trust that the company has their best interest at heart when they first start with it, right? Like it's just like, oh, you want me to learn about this thing that's going to take my job. And I think we have to be very transparent as organizations about how AI is going to be used within our organization if we know what that is right now. And we may not. Like we may not know the full scope of AI's impact on an organization, and I think that's fine. We are still in the infancy. If you think
Yep,
about a maturity model for AI, we are probably at like an iPhone 2.0.
absolutely.
And we're on the iPhone 16, right? Like, so if
Hmm.
you think about iteratively how far away we are from the maturity of the current level of the iPhone, because we have not come up with the iPhone level of use case for AI yet.
Yeah,
So it's outside of like work related, tech related things. Like my mom, who's retired, my father, like they know the phrase, they don't know what it does. They have no
right.
use for it in their everyday life. I think until you get to that point, everybody's still going to be kind of afraid of it. So
Mhm.
you've got to reset that. And I think that also starts with educating outside the walls of your organization, because you can say all you want to the people inside your company, but if you're not talking to your partners and your customers and your suppliers and all of these people about how you're using these things, if you're not educating them on the new systems you're putting in place and the things
Right.
like that, if all these learning programs remain siloed,
Hmm.
then you're not you're not serving the broader purpose of what these tools are meant to do. And
Yeah.
so I think we have to go beyond that. Um,
Hmm.
we have to start figuring out ways to educate our partners and our customers and things like
Yeah.
that. Some of our customers are setting up full-fledged learning academies to train
Yeah.
suppliers on things like quality standards and compliance requirements, or
Right.
onboarding new customers. And I think it improves the performance, but it also deepens the relationship across
Hmm.
all of these ecosystems, right? So, and that's ultimately what you want. You want a more like cohesive communication channel between your employees, your customers, your suppliers, and all this stuff. So, in the manufacturing industry, I think, how are you guys thinking about that holistic ecosystem? And do you see opportunities extending beyond the walls of the business? Like, do you see that the same way I do, that we have to educate outside the walls of our organization? Or do you feel like the onus is on those people to kind of raise themselves to your level? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think if we view it as those customer experience are our customers. If we want our customers coming back to whatever our product is, then to your point, we need to educate them. And when we educate them, what we're doing is we are giving them the freedom to choose to trust. And if we give them that freedom to choose to trust through our educating them um, on our principles and the why behind what we're doing, they're going to see it hopefully as a benefit, and they're going to want to come back. And not only are they going to want to come back and use our product, but they're also going to be evangelists for our product as well. You said something at the a little bit ago about individuals are internally fearful that a corporation could take their position.
Right.
That's true. That could happen.
It could. 100%.
That could happen. That's part of the self-education process. Like our customers, we are customers of our company as well. So we need to be educated by our employers, but at the same time, we need to be wise and we need to educate ourselves by doing our own self-exploration to see if we want to stay in the positions that we're in, or do we want to say, maybe I need to be upskilled, maybe I need to learn a new skill, because everything that I'm hearing is showing me that perhaps I can transition to this next career advancement, or I really love what I'm doing. I see that my job is going to be evolving a little bit through the use of AI. So I'm gonna go with the times. I'm gonna go with the flow, and I'm gonna learn new skills so I can keep my job, because I want to be a part of this radical and awesome change. I know I sounded like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when I just said radical and awesome, but I still think it plays in 2025 like it did in 1985.
Cowabunga, dude.
I'm a big Ninja Turtles.
I'm a big Ninja Turtles guy. I get it.
Who's your favorite? Michelangelo?
Raphael.
Whoa, there's a backstory on that one. There's a little anger behind that comment. I can't wait to unpack that with you, Justin.
It's like the Rorschach test of Ninja Turtles, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No one ever says Donatello, by the way.
See, just kidding. Lauren in the chat agrees with me, by the way.
Thanks, Lauren. Okay, great.
Well, there you go.
Shoot.
Well, that might be my first poll question then. Who's your favorite Ninja Turtle? No, I think, let's get the audience involved here for sure. If you want to tell me your favorite Ninja Turtle, you absolutely can. But I want to more understand. A thinking man's turtle, Donatello. That's absolutely true. Donatello would actually work very well.
He just did. He just Samsunged us.
He did. Yeah.
Hey, James, do you have a Samsung or an iPhone? Watch this. 100%. I would 1,000% he has a Samsung.
iPhone.
Oh, man.
Oh.
Wow. Yep. Wow. Thinking man, huh? Okay. All right.
Blue bubble gang all day. So let's do a little quick poll here. So in the chat, I want to understand more about like where you are with AI in your organization today. Are you, let's do in terms of like a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being you feel like you're just dipping a toe, you haven't really tried much, or 5 being like, hey, we're all in and we're actually like implementing systems to automate,
Yeah.
even the most mundane of things. So like, where are you today, 1 to 5? Um, and oops, where'd my chat pod go? There it is. Okay. Um,
Really good questions. Really good questions. All right. So, Justin, are you creating the poll?
I am. I just
Excellent. So
sent it,
he's
I
creating the
believe.
poll. Here we go.
There we go. So,
So
okay,
one is the
person's a 2. And don't worry, this is anonymous. I will not tell anybody what you tell me. I don't even know. I can't even see who says what. Um, all right. So it looks like most people are coming in right now, at least at a 2. And I think this is very indicative of study. Okay, somebody at a 4. But this is very indicative
Right.
of overall trends that I've seen in the research that either we've produced or we've sourced here at Adobe, is that a majority of people have tried it. They are at
Mhm.
least dipping a toe into it. They're not completely averse to it. They're not avoiding it, but they are definitely not super duper mature. Now there are a couple of overachievers in our poll, but
Yeah.
I think overall this is indicative of where we are as a whole. Are you seeing the same thing in manufacturing, Tom? Like where you are
Yeah.
do you think this is indicative of where your organization is or previous place where you've been? Is that true? Or would you argue that it's higher, lower? Like what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's actually spot on, if not less. I think you're going to have some early adopters, but I
Yeah.
think most of right now what we're seeing is cautious.
Mm.
Not even cautious, but open, just cautious but hesitant, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm putting my own words into a maturity model, obviously, but I think 2 is cautious, but what we're seeing here at 72% is that's the, hey, I'm cautious, but I'm open to learn. I'm
Right.
open to listen, right?
Veronica's bringing up a really good point in the chat as well. So she says, I think we're overlooking one of the most fundamental challenges in upskilling manufacturing teams. Most of them simply don't have the time or the tools to
Yeah.
identify what they want or need to learn. How do we reach 50,000 people across different technologies and languages without relying on email? That's the foundational issue before we even get into defining future skills or figuring out how to deliver them effectively. That is a really good point.
Yeah.
So, Tom, do you have any response to that? You deal with this way more than I do in terms of the practical application of what she's talking about.
Yeah, across different technologies and languages without relying on email. I think that I personally deal with this, and what I do is I'll take one message and I'll look at 5 different modalities. So 5 different ways of how I want to transfer that to the workforce because of the different technologies, because of the different languages, whether those be uh, linguistic or systematic, doesn't matter. Um, and e I don't just rely on email. I could use email as a vehicle, but I'm gonna do my research and I'm gonna roll my sleeves up a little bit. I'm wearing a sleeveless shirt right now. Um, but I'm gonna roll my sleeves up once if I'm wearing a button down, and I'm gonna go to the subject matter experts, those that are in their specific craft, in their specific uh, localized function, and say, what do you use? What matters most? What's the cadence? I'm gonna do just as much research as possible, and then I'm gonna do a um, multi-function deployment, and I'm just going to keep doing it until hopefully it works. In addition to that, what I'm going to do is those individuals, such as the frontline managers, right, our managers as well. I'm also going to skill them. So it's not just individuals on the line, or it's not just uh, individuals in a certain position. It's all individuals. And why I do that is so I can have a cascade effect. And that cascade effect is just going to aid in the repetition that we're looking for. And when I say repetition, I'm talking about the desired behaviors that we're looking to achieve. Um, and if we reverse engineer that, we reverse it back to our performance objective. Um, and that's the cycle. Simple, right?
Yeah, real simple.
Not really. Yeah,
I
it's
think,
super
you know,
simple.
so I dealt with
AI just told me that. I was reading it off of it. No, I'm just kidding.
I think that here's one thing that we can do for this. So when I worked at Twitter specifically, we had about, I think it was 200,000 users on Twitter Flight School, which is a platform that I managed while I was there. And we had to do that in 9 different languages. And we had to deal with advertising professionals that were very mobile, digital first. Not everybody had time to originally we were doing it as in-person training in the Twitter offices. And when the pandemic hit, we had to transition all of that to online. So we did a mixture of modalities. So we still offered those synchronous trainings for people who really love that structured environment. But then we really worked hard to figure out what are the ways that we need to meet people where they are. So
Mm-hmm.
like we're talking about, email. Yeah, that's a way to get a message to somebody that training is
Right.
available, but I never would try to educate through the inbox. I think that is
Yeah.
not a good way to go. But making the training available, multi-format, multi-modality,
Right.
offer truncated versions for mobile that maybe coincide with a live session they can take at their leisure, or giving them the ability to quickly do like a swipe through lesson on their phone for 5 minutes, whatever it is, making
Yes.
everything available in multiple places. So sort of democratizing the choice of where they get their learning from,
I
and
like that.
then having all of those things tie back to a specific program. So let's say it's a certification for a new machine. So
Yeah.
have that available in 10 different ways. And ultimately, you can only bring the mountain so far to people. Eventually, people have to come to the mountain. And
Right.
you hope that you land somewhere within their orbit where that's close enough that they jump on the train and they get moving with you. Um, some people you're not going to reach everybody. Like,
No.
it's just not the case. And I think that we can also use these tools that we're talking about to expedite the recreation of materials in different languages, in 4 different
Absolutely.
modalities, all that kind of stuff. Take the PowerPoint that you're using for your synchronous trainings and have AI turn that into flashcards, or
Right.
build the
Yeah.
assessment for you, translate it into 10 languages, whatever the case may be. Like, use these things as a creative catalyst, and to feed it these problems. Like, feed that problem to it and let it chew on it and spit it back out and see what it says. I'm not saying the
Right.
output's going to be great every time, but it might help you think in a different way. That's one thing I've noticed about these things. It's probably the greatest whiteboarding assistant I've ever had.
A,
You
a
know, you
1000% agree with you. Like, think about if Thomas Edison would have had this,
right?
right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, yes, I love that. And that's why our philosophical minds, right, our critical thinking skills have to be paired with this. So we can't just blindly say AI is going to be the answer to everything. It takes individuals to use the AI systems. James Forrester here says our firm's in a bit of a paradox. We created our own in-house chat GPT, but as a German firm, it's very risk averse, governed by GDPR. We're struggling to bring any other form of AI to life. Well, James, what I would say to that is that meine Deutsch ist nicht so good, but meine English is sehr, sehr good, which is wunderbar. That's
Oh,
about the extent as my German goes. But it really goes back to what Justin was just saying. Great, you've created your own in-house GPT. Use it to your advantage. So the low-hanging fruit there is you know your system's capabilities. right? Because it is in-house. It's obviously governed by GDPR, but something that Justin just said is something that we should all be doing. The low-hanging fruit I'm referring to is taking your existing content, seeing what your in-house chat GPT can recreate using the creations that you already have, right? That's how that's how you start to say, okay, I can work with this. Okay, here are its capabilities. Um, Again, to Justin's point, I think that individuals think AI and they think, oh, this is just going to create something from scratch. And it could, but not to the specifics that you want, right? Not to the specifics that you want. So if you already have some content, uh, play around with your in-house chat GPT, which I know that you're already doing uh, anyway, and try to use it to your advantage.
I agree. I think that I think James, I don't think you're behind. I think you're actually ahead. The fact that you're asking these questions now, it
Right.
means that you're really setting the groundwork for an ethical, sustainable AI framework at your company. And I actually envy the fact that you're governed by the GDPR. To be honest, I live with a privacy attorney, full disclosure. So I understand GDPR a lot more than most people because I had to learn it as she learned it. But what I think this is doing, and I think that we're gonna run into an issue in our country and others that don't have these governing bodies around it. We're going to run into an issue where people are not going to inherently trust these systems because they're not sure where all of the information is going, what it's being used for, things like that. So the fact that you are governed by a system that is designed with privacy
Hmm.
first, I think builds an inherent sense of trust amongst the end user so they know the vetting that any tool that they're given access to, they know the vetting that's gone through. They obviously know the repercussions for the company if they violate the GDPR, which are huge. And I think that finding ways to use like your internal GPT, whatever that thing is there a way that your team can extend that functionality from the GPT into your LMS or into your,
Yeah.
whatever system you're using so that learners can talk to it, so that they
Right.
can get context from it, so that it's, and it's your internal thing. So it's trained on your own data, I assume, and all of the information from your courses could live there as well. And I think that, like I said, that's a strategic advantage. Having a homegrown solution that you control and that you
Big
can
time.
update and all that, I think that's a huge advantage. So I would think about it differently and then just start to think about what are the low risk, high reward scenarios that your situation can create. Where can it save you time? Where can it improve your workflows? It won't be the Wild West like what everybody else has with ChatGPT and things like that. But does it need
Hmm.
to be? I don't know. I don't know. I think that more constraints creates smarter solutions. That's just
Did
my
you just
personal
come
opinion.
up with that, or is that
I did.
something that you read? Like you did? Okay.
No. Yeah.
To me, that sounds like a quote that you wanted to use this entire call, and you were just
No,
waiting
no,
right now
no.
to say it. Okay.
No, I literally just popped into my head.
Can you
Uh,
say it again? Can you say it again?
More constraints equals smarter solutions.
Yeah, you read that off the screen, but
I
I
have
like it.
perfect
That was good.
auditory recall. You don't understand.
Oh, I
You
do
ask my
now.
coworkers. I have photographic memory.
Do you really?
I do. Yeah. So if I see
Wow.
if I say something once or whatever, like I can, I've it's really a curse, especially if you're in an argument with
With a
people.
with a lawyer that you live with. Okay, great.
Yeah, because I can remember legal precedents and things like that, and that's not a good thing for me. Okay, we're about to run out of time, so I want to get to this one last question here, and then we'll wrap everything up. So we've talked a lot today about the impact of these systems on um, morale and a lot of things like that. How do we see the influence of AI in the manufacturing process and and learning to get like how is this going to unfold? Like what do you see a future state of this being? Like where are we going 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever? Like what are we going to see? What are some changes? And while Tom is answering, if you have any questions for us, please put them in the chat. We will try our best to answer them.
I think it's it's only gonna evolve and and become more regulated. I think that you took the words right out of my mouth. This is the wild, wild west. So everyone's doing what they want to do. The
Yeah.
government regulations or you know whatever authority is governing the platforms, it's only going to get tighter, and it's just like many of us right now on this call. Everyone is learning at the exact same time. So once we start learning more and once we start refining our skills, um, we're gonna build better policies and better governing systems. But that's a good way to look at AI if you think about
Yeah.
it. It's the ultimate upskilling evolution of learning.
Yeah. I think that
I didn't read that, by the way. I made that up.
that's your tagline of the day.
My tagline.
Um,
I can't say it again though.
I think that this will ultimately prove to be one of the biggest catalysts for change that we've ever seen. I
Absolutely.
think that it will be it will be your opportunity as an employee to, if you want, write a new future for yourself. Because like, you know, support analysts can become AI powered help desks. You know, you can, an ops analyst can become a prompt designer or a prompt engineer. Like all of these roles that we had before can shift into something else. It's like thinking in terms of being a production artist today versus an art director, right? And that's kind of the shift that I'm telling people in the creative world and in the learning design world. You're less doing the work and more informing the work, more refining the work, directing the work, things like that. And I think that that's ultimately where we will see this thing net out, is that it will take away a lot of the manual things that we don't like doing today and allow us to be freed up to do more high level thinking, things that involve the human element that we didn't have before. So
Hmm.
that's ultimately where I see it. Tom, I want to thank you. We're out of time, so I want to thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. If people want to connect with you or find out more about what you're doing or anything like that, where can they find you? Are you on LinkedIn and all the things?
I am on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yes, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. That would be wonderful.
Sounds good. And I'll put my LinkedIn in the chat right here. So if anybody wants to connect with me, ask me any questions, you certainly can. I really appreciate everybody's participation today. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you again on another future session here with Adobe as well. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, bye.